once these doors to the office close, your intention needs to be, okay, now I'm activating a second gear. How do we create a second gear you can shift into when the meetings are over, where you don't have to protect your authority, where actually what you're doing is you're inspiring the man to show up for you and trust that he will, because that's the difference. The masculine doesn't trust, it manages. The feminine inspires and trusts.
Here is something you need to hear. You're not lazy. You're just misaligned. I'm Kepo. I help high performers get unstuck by taking bold, aligned action. And this is Grow with Kepo, where we speak with influential trailblazers who've made their mark and found the clarity that changed their lives. This is where we get clear, realign, and move toward a life that actually feels like yours. Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is spicy and I cannot wait to get into it. I have with me a very special guest, Laura Nagiel. She is a dating coach and strategist for high achieving women. And today we are going to be talking about a very spicy topic, which is why successful women struggle in dating and why, quote unquote, men are intimidated by your success is absolute BS. And the real reason dating is hard for high achievers. I mean, if you are not like, okay, let me strap on, I want to hear this, then I don't even know what's wrong with you right now. And I think if you are a guy listening to this, you should also listen. This actually concerns you as well. Without further ado, I welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me, Kepo.
So tell us, how did you even get into this whole dating coach thing? How did you become the Cupid for love?
Through my own journey. So I started off as a general life coach, actually. And my clients would come to me for all types of problems. And then what would very often happen is, as a byproduct of our work together, they would find a man. And if you're single, for a year, 2, 5, I think 10 was the record, and you find that guy, you want to shout from the rooftops, maybe not on social media, but you definitely tell your friends, right? And so this is how I naturally became niched down to dating coaching. Now, that's just the sort of like business side of it, right? Like how did I actually start doing it for a living? But in terms of what drives me and what my mission is, it's actually being the person I needed a few years ago, because dating has been a personal struggle for me for the longest time. And, the title you mentioned, like, my success is intimidating for men, like, I'm too successful, I'm too pretty, I'm too this and too that. Like, I would feed myself all of these comfort lines. What we're going to be talking about today is not just me sharing knowledge, but it's also sharing my experience of living through it, struggling with it, and then getting on the other side.
I guess you have found the love of your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this, right?
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
It basically sounds either like a fairy tale or a made up story, because it's so unbelievable. So first, let's start with the struggle, with the hard part, because whatever the ladies listening to us are going through, I'm 99% sure I have been through it. Like, toxic relationships, like narcissists, guys who are lazy, don't match your ambition, don't match your drive. You end up being the one who's like pushing it forward, like trying to make it happen, and ghosting and breadcrumbing, and I've seen it all. So I was dealing with that, and it was only getting worse. And so when I moved to London, I was just so hopeful that now it's going to be better, because London is a big city. The dating pool is obviously bigger as well. So now is definitely the time. Well, it wasn't. It only got worse. And so I was like, okay, at this stage, I'm not even dating to meet people. I'm just dating to chase validation and to like prove to myself that, because it got into my head. I was like, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I delusional about what I can get? And maybe this is why nothing is happening for so long. Anyway, so I was like, okay, let me take a step back and actually, instead of just seeing all these men and saying it's their fault because of how they show up, because of what they're missing. Let me see if there's actually maybe something I'm missing or doing wrong. And so I took a year off dating completely, no dates whatsoever, deleted all of the apps. And I started looking inwards. So I started studying my dating history, my patterns, how I was communicating, what I actually wanted in a relationship, who I wanted to be in that relationship as well. And then I started looking at like who I am actually, like that vision and then who I am now. And there were many gaps. And so I took that year to really work on myself. I also have a psychology degree, so that helped to like actually get introspective and like spot these patterns. But when I did and when I felt healed and ready and very changed in my outlook, the very first date that I went on was with Philip, my life partner.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow, that is amazing. So you didn't, once you fixed you and you closed the gap, then it was just like that for you. You touched on a bunch of things that I want to go deeper into. Let's start with the lies that we women tell ourselves about this whole, guys are just intimidated. Because this comes up in my circle as well. When we're talking, it's like, oh, I went out with this guy and he basically said, oh, you're a challenge for me, or, said in so many words, or sometimes you just assume that the guy is not making an effort because he's so intimidated. And maybe to some extent that is true. But what you just said made me realize that maybe we're the ones who are attracting those types of situations, right? What drives the lies that we tell ourselves? And what is that gap that you found for yourself?
In terms of what drives us, it's definitely ego because it's easier to say, oh, there's something wrong with this guy, not with me. It's absolutely understandable because if you work so hard for your success, if you have a great job, a great life, great circle of friends, you're well rounded, travel, all of that stuff, it's almost like you've put in so much work into your life. It's difficult to say, well, there's something that I missed or something that I'm doing wrong or something that building all of that success took away from me. And what it quote unquote takes away from you, that all of that process of building, is that soft, receptive feminine side. Because in order to be successful in the sort of Western meaning of the word, we need to be strong, direct, firm, very, like persistent and consistent and all of the relevant systems, within the professional context. Especially many women that I work with, they are leaders in male dominated fields, and so they have to be almost like twice as hard in order to get somewhere. And so yes, they're successful, yes, they have an amazing life, but they had to change how they show up. They had to toughen up. And basically, and as much as that helps you to get all of these other areas, like it helps you transform your life to be picture perfect, it is going to be an obstacle when it comes to your dating life because there is just no energy polarity. You had to become masculine in order to be successful. So now, when you want a masculine man, it's difficult to be all of a sudden just turn the feminine energy on so that he can be in his masculine. So what ends up happening is you're in your masculine, you repel the men who are truly in their masculine because we work like magnets. So what you attract is men who are passive, lazy, or just like drive, who are in their feminine, who are ready to receive and be taken care of and be the passenger princess, which frustrates us. It drives us crazy, but that's the dynamic.
I really like what you said about the whole feminine energy thing. And I do agree that it is hard to switch. Even I, for one, work in a male dominated space. I've always, in all situations I've been in my professional life, it's always been maybe, oh, I'm the only black and female. Or, I studied electrical engineering. How many girls do that in school, And even now, sometimes I'll just look on the Zoom call. I'm like, yeah, I'm the only girl here. Interesting. But over the years, like you said, I have also like built that muscle of, yeah, I have to toughen up, and I'm gonna butt in when you're talking, and I'm not going to, I don't say sorry to anybody, like just, but how do you make the switch though? How do you make the switch to, you know, embracing your feminine side so that you can actually attract the right kind of guy, like a man's man?
It definitely starts with intention and belief that it's even possible, because I had a first session with a new client and she was like, when we came to talk about the energy, she was like, Laura, but are you sure this is possible for me? Like, I because like I'm at the C-suite level, like all of my other counterparts are men, and I have actually been told that I come across as aggressive now, but then in the past I would be passed for promotion because they told me, well, the problem with female leaders is you are either too aggressive or too nice. And unfortunately, you're too nice. And so you are just not fit for the role. So I had to really toughen up. And I don't know if I can do this, if I can just, close the door of the office and then go back home and just be all, like flowers and rainbows. And then she said something like, I don't know if I can just talk about, like how my day was as if nothing happened, and as if I didn't have to fight. And I'm not just gonna, I don't have the same topics that ladies that work at the nail shop do. And I was like, well, first of all, like let's relax here, because what I'm not saying that you need to be simple. That's basically what she was implying. We had to have a little conversation about respect towards the work people do as well. But you don't have to be simple. Like, being in your feminine doesn't mean you're acting stupid. So let's establish that. So it starts with the understanding, with the intention, and with the belief that it's possible. Because this is definitely not about you coming back home and pretending nothing happened at work, or not talking about work because you're like, oh, I need to be in my feminine. But it's about how you communicate. So if you know you have to be in your bossy mode at work and you give orders, and you manage, and you don't ask for opinion, and you don't say sorry, once these doors to the office close, your intention needs to be, okay, now I'm activating a second gear. And so that's a big area of work that I do with my clients. How do we create a second gear you can shift into when the meetings are over, where you don't have to protect your authority, where actually what you're doing is you're inspiring the man to show up for you and trust that he will? Because that's the difference. The masculine doesn't trust, it manages. The feminine inspires and trust. And so that's the switch. It will then influence how you communicate as a result, how you show up. And so obviously that then sets a whole process in motion. But it definitely starts with the realization that it needs to be done in the first place. Because very often we just think, that's just how I am. And I have a big personality and I won't change for anybody. Um, and that's absolutely right. I don't want anyone to change. I've naturally grown up, like, I'm the first daughter, well, the firstborn and a daughter, and so I've been like taking care of everybody since I can remember. I'm naturally very much in my masculine energy, because I always had to manage, I always had to perform. And it will always be with me, and that's something that I use for my clients, and they benefit from it because I'm the one who holds them in that process. But I also learned to perform in a different way, to act in a different way, right? So it's just about finding what being feminine means to you and then getting intentional with practicing it, because it takes practice.
Hey, quick one. Are you spinning your wheels but not moving forward? I know how frustrating it is when you're putting in the work but not seeing any progress. In my free Raise Your Standards 21-day challenge, you'll get live group coaching to uncover your blind spots. You'll reignite your momentum and finally make those bold moves you've been avoiding. Join the next round or get on the waitlist today. The link is in the description. All right, back to the episode. Yeah, I understand that we need to learn how to switch to the second gear, but I can imagine that it's not something that will just happen overnight. It almost sounds like there is this process of remembering who we are, because I don't I would like to believe that as women, we weren't born with, a dominant masculine energy. Like that was not the intent, right? The intention was, feminine energy, inspire, trust, soft. I guess for me, I'm just saying, how do you know that you're not just trying to be someone you're not, like you said? How do you know that you're not trying to be that? Because I can imagine that during that process, sometimes it won't feel natural. Like you, you just want to still keep your guard up because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys have shown us some serious like spiciness, right? You're like, oh,
So now we're getting into another big thing, which is scarcity mindset in dating. So the belief that there aren't many good ones left. All the guys at my age are already married or taken or whatever. So, like, I just have the crappy leftovers nobody wanted or the seriously dysfunctional ones to choose from. And so, when we have that belief, it's very difficult at this stage of dating to be like, to trust and to create a space for a man to step up and prove himself. Men love it, but the right men, let me just add that. But we, as women with drive, women with ambition, women who need control, let's be honest, that is the sort of default setting that we have as ambitious, high achieving women. When we meet a guy we like, it's almost like he ticks so many of my boxes. I really don't want to miss this opportunity. So let me manage this. Let me not take a chance by stepping back to allow him to step in. Let me just manage that. So, make sure that the first date happens and it happens the way I want it to and when I want it to. And or they approach it from the other angle, which is I have been hurt so many times. I don't want to waste my time. Let me basically interview guys. That's something that very often my clients do. So they have a whole system. There will be different variations of it, but it essentially looks something like they match on a dating app and she says, "Let's meet at a wine bar." And then within that one glass of wine, she determines if she wants to keep investing time or not. And that's a prime example of like being in your masculine. You are the one driving the process. You are the one making a recruitment process out of it as well, which like takes like how within a recruitment process can there be magic and sparks and
oh
magnet.
my gosh, I'm dying. I'm dying because you called all of us out. That, first of all, the whole scarcity thing, and I hear it, we hear it also. It's not just us. People are telling us when we say, oh, people ask us, why are you still single? Uh, and then, oh, what are you looking for? No, before that, they'll say, oh, maybe you are the one who is picky. That's why you're still single. I'm like,
You need to be realistic.
yeah, you need to be
Yeah, yeah,
realistic. And
yeah.
we'll now go through the next thing is okay, so what are you looking for in a man? When I'm done listing it, this is what I hear. Okay, Kepo, you're looking for the 0.001%. And I'm like, I don't understand. I literally just described a male version of me. Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone that will make it easy for us to love them. And we love people that are like us. Like we when we have stuff in common and they just get us. They get us because they have an essence of us in them. And I'm like, so I don't believe I'm part of the 0.001% of women. I'm not being unrealistic. So we have already like it's been we've been baptized with the older you get, the narrower the pool becomes. And then that whole I don't want to waste time. Oh my gosh. Almost like Laura was like slap me on the face. Because no, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can so relate. Like, okay. But that's the thing though. I don't want to waste my time. So how do we cut through the noise? How do we cut through the BS so that we're not wasting time with a time waster?
Yeah. I Love it. Like, I love the direction this conversation is going so much because, yes, we are getting to the heart of it. So, because you have this scarcity mindset and you're like, well, I really need to rush in order to find that one guy, you're in your masculine. And this is, so you are filtering in the masculine way, right? But you could also filter in a feminine way, which would be basically, okay, so I match with this guy. Let me see what he does. Let me see if he proves to be not to like, I'm not even talking about husband material, but like, do I even want to meet him? Because if we matched and we're talking for a week and he hasn't asked me out, it's not always about having the capacity to meet within days because lives are busy, but like, you want to see his intention. You want to see that he wants to lock the date in. If it's not locked in within days, if he doesn't have the initiative to ask me out, how is he going to provide and be the leader for our family? Like, he won't.
Amen.
So for me, that's a very quick no. I'm just gonna keep going. And one more thing I wanna also speak to what you said about, like, time is passing, the older you are, the fewer men you have available. I can absolutely relate to, well, I feel like all women have heard that at some point. I feel like there are certain cultures where maybe this is more prevalent. I'm Eastern European, so there was a lot of discussions around that ever since I can remember, that you have to be mindful of time, like ever since I turned 25, it was like, girl, you are not getting any younger, and the eggs are limited. I always had this chatter from others at the back of my head. But what really helped me, and that's something that I share with all of my clients, is that when you think about it, and also when people tell you that it's just like it's 1%, less than 1%, um, good. You put in the work to become who you became. And that is, and so a man like that exists. And also, there are 8 billion people in the world. Half of them are men. So it's like 4 billion. And then, of course, there will be part of that group that is not in your age bracket, and there's a language barrier. So let's even be conservative and take like half of that away. We're still with 2 billion now. And then a percentage of that, I actually did this with ChatGPT, so I'm actually quite good on my numbers here. Around between 3 to 5% men identify as gay, so we're taking that out as well. We are still with hundreds of millions of men who could potentially be compatible. And okay, not all of them live on your continent, but still hundreds of millions, right? So even in your city, there are hundreds of men who are like within your area. If you live in a village with 200 people, probably not millions waiting for you, but you get the gist. There are so many men who are compatible in your area, and you only need one.
You only need, thank you. That's what I keep. I'm like, I just need one. We only need one, ladies. Just one man. You don't. How many do we need? It's like, okay, it's 0.001%. So I just need one person.
Still 0.001 from 4 freaking billion is still a lot. So you still have a big pool to choose from. And that's something we always want to remember about. And so when you asked, okay, how do I stay in my feminine? How do I not take on that masculine role of driving things forward? Well, exactly by remembering and reminding yourself all the time, I just need one guy. There are so many men. And I just need to, instead of wasting my own time by entertaining men who are clearly not stepping up. And if they're not stepping up, there are only two reasons. One, they lack the drive required in order for you to be able to have the type of life you want with a man who's a leader, secure in his masculine, who's going to protect and take care of you. Or he's not that into you. In which case, the best you'll be able to get from him is a placeholder position until he finds the woman of his dreams, for whom he will be doing all the things he never does for you. And so, either way, the sooner you let him go and move on, the better. And so, to like get to the point, or like to make a final point on this, the best way to filter men is by leaning back, stepping back, and seeing who steps up. Because the ones who don't were never worth your time, like, anyway. You cannot earn effort from a man.
Oh, wow. Lean back so you can see the ones that will step up. Oh my gosh. Just drop the mic. Drop your mic now. Just disconnect it and just go. I love that. Honestly, everyone listening, if that is all you take from this, literally, I think that is major unlock right there. Just lean back and actually leave room for the person who is actually going to step up. So it sounds like you're saying we are doing the work of the men. We're not actually giving them the space to actually do it. So, of course, we're going to attract the ones that don't want to do it for the two reasons that you mentioned. Whereas if we actually step back, then we create that space for the man to actually feel.
Yeah, 100%. And what I would add to that is also, so stepping back is one thing, but this is why the program that I have is a framework, because we need to work on different aspects. So, being in your feminine, creating space is definitely something that helps. But in order to have that very, very quick effect that I got, that my clients get, like, I literally have the only program in the world, as far as I know of, that guarantees results. And so it really works, but it has many ingredients. And another big ingredient that I want to talk about is self love. And self love has nothing to do with self confidence. Let's start here, because very often we think that the two are interchangeable. They're not. And so women who come to me are usually very confident. Why? Because confidence is external. It's the belief that whatever I set my mind to in life, I can achieve. So I will put in the hard work, I will do what it takes, and I'll make it happen. And it happens, right? Because we're smart, we're strategic, we plan for it, and we're not afraid to roll up our sleeves and do the work. But self love, on the other hand, is internal. It's how we see ourselves on the inside. Like, when you take away all of the achievements and all of the nice clothes and all of the travel and all of the admiration that we might be getting from society for our success, it's what we truly believe that we deserve, even if we didn't have those things that we build. And this is very often where there's a big disconnect for my clients. And so this then dictates how they show up to dating. So even when they try to step back, what they inspire in men, it's very difficult for them to inspire not just commitment, but that sort of "you're my princess, I want to spoil you" type of behavior. And let me share a story, which again I think is just so powerful in my own life with my partner. So I was doing a Q&A, as I do on Instagram sometimes, and someone asked, I just keep getting asked out on these dates that are a walk in the park or a date in a coffee shop in between meetings, and I can just tell they're trying to be cheap and time efficient with me. So basically they're interviewing me, and it doesn't feel good. So what do I do? How do I decline it in a polite way? Basically the question was like, how do I stay in my feminine energy when I get this without micromanaging and being like, I don't want you to do this, ask me out to a proper place. And so I started writing my answer, and my partner goes, Laura, but these men are right. You have to be like time efficient and financially efficient. Like, as a man, you have to go on many dates in order to like find the one. So obviously you're not going to be spending loads on every date you go. And I just turned around and I was like, do I even know you? Like, who are you? Like, this is not the generous man that I got to meet. And just to be clear, it started from the beginning. It wasn't that, again, I earned my way. And since date 5, he was like, actually, you know what? You're worth it. Let's do something nice now. No, it was from the get-go. So I asked him, I was like, okay, so you say you would give the same advice to your male friends, just take them on a cheap date and see what happens, but you were never cheap with me. Why? And he was like, Laura, yeah, but with you I knew it was different. With you I was just afraid to be cheap because I knew I had to get it right. I didn't want to risk that you will think that I'm cheap or low effort or don't care. And so I was always putting my best foot forward. And why was that? Because I was very healed, and my self-love, so my self-confidence always very high, but my self-love was very often in a very bad state, especially after all bad dates. So after that year of a break, my self-love was at a very high and stable place. And that's something that's beyond verbal communication. It does show up, of course, but it's almost like on an energetic level, like men can feel it just the way you speak with them, that you don't have the time for any nonsense. And so, and when I approach it from the perspective of, I don't have the time for interviews, like I'm not interviewing anybody, but also I'm not getting interviewed. I never had to say it that way because that's a very masculine way of thinking, but he could sense it. And so, the point of the story is, even my perfect guy, my dream man, who is the dream man to me, maybe other women that dated him, maybe for them, he was the typical stingy German. I don't know.
That's funny.
It's
Stingy
not just
German.
about, yeah, it's not just about the men is what I'm trying to say. That's the prime example of being in your feminine. You inspire certain actions in men.
Okay, okay, okay. So there are two things I want to drill down into here. Number one is, how does it feel? What does life look like when your self-love bucket is full? Yeah, how do you know that, okay, yeah, I'm doing really well now. I have I have abundant self-love and it matches my self-confidence.
It feels safe. It feels quieter. The way it would show up for me on a very practical level, I stopped using phrases like, oh, it's just me, so I don't know, I'll save the good bottle of wine for when I have company, but it's just me. So I can choose the one I like the least. It's fine. Or I wouldn't buy myself fresh flowers, even though I love to have flowers, and just pretty things in general in my space. But I would be like, it's just me. I live on my own. Like, no one's gonna see it, just me. So what's the point? And as you progress on that journey, you start treating yourself as you would someone you really love. And so you wouldn't say to someone you really love, oh, it's just you, give you the crappy stuff.
It's just you. Yeah, have bread and cheese. We're not going to any nice dinner, okay?
It's these little things that we start prioritizing, because very often it's almost like we put off certain things. We tell ourselves, oh, I'll do this when I earn it, either by achieving something, or I will do this when I'm in a relationship. I will feel soft and secure and taken care of, and I'll look after myself more when I'm in a relationship. I'll start doing my nails regularly when I'm in a relationship, because then somebody, then it will be worth it. Somebody will see it. Well, I see my nails all the time. I see my loungewear all the time in my pajamas. So, yes, I'm going to get the nicest stuff I can get because I'm with myself all the time. I want to look pretty for myself. And it sounds like such a simple thing, and it might not resonate with everybody, but very often when I speak with my clients, when we have the sort of loungewear pajamas conversations, they're like, Laura, you called me out because I still sleep in my sort of t-shirts from university. Because it's just like, I just don't have the time to prioritize shopping for it, for example, or booking a massage, or doing something just for fun, for it not to be oriented towards any result,
It's just for you.
just for you, just for your pleasure. And so, definitely that. And also feeling very secure in knowing that the right person will come, that will be coming from the inside, from, like, it's not even that I've healed, but I activated that magnetism in me, that charisma, that brilliance. I love myself so much. It basically comes from like falling in love with yourself first, without me going on a whole tangent and like giving you a million examples. It's about when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, wow. And you're like, you're the shit. And it's not even about looks, it's about, I love you. I love your micro expressions when you make a joke, or like, like for example, something I really had to come to terms with and like embrace. That's also a big part of like building up self-love, was one, my accent, which I hated for the longest time. And I was just like, this definitely puts me at a disadvantage, against all of these other like English women here in London. Or what else, the fact that like, like I talk a lot, I'm quite loud, I speak with my hands. For some people it's too much, but again, that's fine. It's all a matter of perspective. For some, like for my partner, this is perfect. He loves it. On our first date, he said, you should have a podcast. I would listen to it every single day, because I just, I love how expressive you are. For some men, it's like, Jesus Christ, please just stay away. I need someone who's more reserved, because I want to be the one who does the talking. And that's how it goes with everything. Like you can look from that perspective on everything. For some men, you'll be too skinny, you'll be a twig, you'll be disgustingly skinny. And for some men, you'll be tiny and petite like a model. For some guys, you'll be overweight, and for some guys, you'll be curvy in all the right places. And so we could go on with these examples, but at the bottom of it, it is about not just tolerating who you are or accepting it, it's about embracing and loving and highlighting it, being proud of it.
Wow. I can feel your passion like just oozing off the screen, because this is obviously something that you embody, and you actually went through the transformation, and I can just tell the way you're talking about it. And even for me personally, I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that that was a thing, but because I'm doing a lot of those things. Sometimes I'll just look in the room like, girl, I love you. I just love you right now. I have conversations with myself. I take myself out a lot. Like I will just get dolled up. I don't care if I meet someone, if I don't meet someone, I'm doing this for me, buy nice things for myself, just hang out, man. So it's really good to know that all these things are the byproducts of loving yourself. Now, another thing that you said that, you classified basically a guy asking you to go for a walk as basically he's not making the effort. And, in my head, when you were talking about what Philip said, what your husband said, I was like, well, he's kind of right. If I were a guy, I have to spend so much. So I want to know who it is I'm talking to see if should we set up another date? Like so that the first one is not me spending on you. It's not that I don't think you're worth it. It's just for context. For example, the first person that I ever responded to on a dating app ever, right? Um, I liked what he did, which is something that you mentioned. It was very clear from the beginning, like, okay, this is my intention. And the next thing was like, can we be adults and just hop on the phone? Man, I was like, yes, let us hop on a call. We hop on
Yeah.
a call, we hit it off, beautiful. He's like, and it was so unplanned, right? That day that we hit it off, like, hey, I'm just 10 minutes from your neighborhood or whatever. Should we just meet up and, walk around? It's a very nice beach area. I was like, yeah, let's do that. I didn't see it as he was being cheap. And we ended up having such an amazing time, like 2 hours just chatting, talking, all of that. And immediately after that, it was very clear, like he was like, I want to take you out on a proper date. But if I had said, oh, he just wants to go out on a walk, I don't have time for that, go set up a proper date. I feel like I might have missed that opportunity to connect. So that's the part that I struggle with. I'm like, well, sometimes I feel that, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that we have this idea of how things should come. And if they don't come in that format, then, ah, he must be wrong or he must not be putting in the effort. So can you address that? Like how do you filter? You know, because for this particular guy, he was intentional, it was spontaneous, went for a walk was nice.
This is all a matter of preference. So there are women who are easygoing and spontaneous and they have a range and they like to do it all and maybe and they love nature and that absolutely works for them. And in that case, if your first date is a hike and a coffee and that makes you excited and you want to do it, absolutely do it. There's no artificial rules as to what is acceptable for a first date and what isn't. I spoke about that example because somebody asked me that question and they were clearly not okay with that offer because it just felt very low effort. Like I don't, because it also depends on the context. If you match with someone and you can see from their pictures that they are more the sort of like city living type of person, pictures in bars, restaurants, galleries, and you offer them a walk in the park, they might not necessarily be into that vibe. For me personally, it's also about creating a space to build a connection that has that sort of like magical vibe and atmosphere, which again, so subjective what that is. But for me, it just felt the best when it would be in the evening. I would get to dress up, and when it's the evening, when the lights are a bit dimmed, it's just everything is just like so much more magical. And it also shows me that man really wants to give it a good shot in terms of getting to know me. He's not afraid to quote unquote commit to 3 hours with me. 3 hours. That's usually how long a dinner lasts, right? You can do the same with a coffee, of course you can. But for me, it just wasn't something. I'm not necessarily the type of woman who just loves walking around in like leggings and trainers. And because my feet get blistered very easily, I know you you guys want to know this. I can when it comes to walks, I can literally only wear like trainers, like literal gym shoes. And so for me, I feel best when I'm dolled up in my heels, take an Uber, from from my place to the restaurant and back. And so I like for me that's very separate. For other women, that's absolutely fine. So it's not like all of my clients, I'm like, okay, this is the list of acceptable places to be invited. Everything outside of that is a no. It's a matter of preference.
It's a matter of I get it now because if it's not, if it doesn't ring true for you and it really just doesn't feel like something that you would do, then basically don't settle for that. Whereas in my own case, a, a walk was perfect because I was trying to count my steps. And I realized that I would have been pissed off if like after the walk, because we didn't know we would hang out for that long. But after the walk, like I looked at my Aura ring thing and it was 15,000 steps. And I realized that I would have been pissed off. Actually, I would have felt like, what a waste of my time, which is so weird. If I got to the end of the day, I'm like, oh, this guy, like because of this guy now, I didn't get my steps in. That's how my own brain is working. And I love walking. I think if somebody asked me on a first date, even though I do like hiking, yeah, but if somebody asked me that for the first time, I'll be like, no.
I'm not getting murdered. Sorry.
No, can we? I might have to find a better way to say it, I guess. So I guess the key takeaway here is it's not about, have a strict list of things that are, I can do this, I can't do this. It's just a matter of staying true to yourself. And the more you can love yourself, the more you're connected with yourself, the more you know for sure what it is you love to do or are okay with, right?
Yeah, 100%. And this is why also one of the steps that I work with my clients on is getting clarity because you're very aware in terms of what works for you and what doesn't and why. But very often when the women that come to work with me, they're just so confused because they know what they don't want from their sort of previous relationships. And then what's in their mind is basically a mixture of what they don't want, what the society is telling them. And by society, I mean social media and films. And now you just have like so much of that sort of content telling you these are the red flags in man, and like these are the green flags, and very often they're contradicting themselves. And then you also have your friends who have their own standards, which are a mixture of, again, their upbringing, their story, all of that stuff. So when you don't know what works for you, that's the most difficult part, because you don't know how to navigate, really, what to say yes to, right? When you know a walk works for you, you're not really like concerning yourself with what someone on the internet said. You just go for it. But if you don't know, then you're thinking, oh, but what does that mean? Where in reality, all dating is, it's establishing compatibility. And so if you love being active, if you love going for walks, if you count your steps and all of that matters, and he cares about that too, that's the first step to knowing that something might come out of it, right? But if you're like heels only type of lifestyle and he loves nature, well, that's also how you know it's not going to work.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. This has been so good. I feel that we can continue for the next hour.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to work with you, how do you take them through it? How do they reach out to you? All of that stuff. Like what's the process?
Sure. So you can reach out to me on Instagram. I will send you the links if you want to include them in the show notes. But there's also a link where you can read more about my program, about that specific framework that made that quick switch for me and makes that quick switch for my clients. So you can read more about that. And if you're interested in working together, we meet for an initial consultation that lasts around an hour, because we need to both know it's a yes, because I wouldn't be able to generate these amazing fast results just for anyone. Like, I need to make sure I'm actually able to help you. So we meet, we talk about where you are right now, what you want, what you need, how I can help you. And if I can help you, we move forward.
How do they reach you? Like website, Instagram?
Yeah,
Um,
Instagram is totally fine. Yeah.
okay. So one thing that I am curious about that some people might be thinking, okay, she's based in London. What if I'm based in Canada, US? Can she help me? What's your answer to that?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I would say like 60% of my clients are here in London, but 40 are just all over. And that's actually the coolest thing, because when I travel, so in September, I went to the US and I got to meet my clients in person. So we absolutely make that work. We meet online, but yeah, and the principles that we talk about are universal across the
Yeah,
culture of humankind.
absolutely, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's guys and girls, just being
Yeah.
guys and girls. So you mentioned earlier on your program is the only one that actually guarantees success. So what's that guarantee? What do you guarantee? Like, is there a timeline? Is there how do you measure success? Do you measure it by marriage? Do you measure it by relationship? Like tell us about that.
The guarantee is that you will find a committed relationship, which means you get to that let's be exclusive conversation within 6 months. So I give you all of the tools, everything that you need in order to find a man who's compatible with you. And for you to get to that stage where you're committed, you're together, boyfriend, girlfriend, and then it's up to you to take it from there. And all of that happens within 6 months. And in the unlikely event that it doesn't happen, because again, I have a whole structure, right? So this is not just about me saying, oh, I'm a magician, I'm going to create a guide for you. No, we're creating a strategy, but then you execute it. So if you really do execute it and you don't find a guy, I keep supporting you until you do. So I'm in your corner until you find a guy, essentially, that you can be with.
Wow, amazing. This was so good, Laura. Any final last words for listeners, for high achieving women and men, even? Like, is that something that the men should know? Or maybe the women, what do you want to say as the last words?
I think let's love ourselves first, ladies. As banal as it sounds, pour into yourself first. invest into yourself first, because when that happens, the guy will come. And this is not about saying, oh, the love will find you when you stop looking. No, but like truly prioritize yourself, and this is when things start falling in line.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, thank you so much. And everybody, if if you need to find your man, the links will be in the show notes. And Laura, this was really, really awesome. I learned a lot. So thank you.
It was so fun. Thank you so much for having me, Kepo.
Thanks for tuning in to Grow with Kepo. If this episode sparked something for you, subscribe, share it with a friend, and keep growing.